The development of emergency medical services dates back to about 1500 BC, with Good Samaritans binding the wounds of injured travelers with wine and oils. In 1797, the chief physician of Napoleon's army instituted the first pre-hospital system, which focused on treatment and transport, or triage and transport, of injured soldiers from the battlefield to first aid stations. Practices have changed drastically, and methods of transport as well. From horse-drawn carriages to helicopters, from basic first aid to advanced life-saving measures in the last 40 years. The future is very bright for this modality of emergency care, with focus on extension of care and reducing long-term morbidity and mortality for the patients that we serve. Today I will discuss EMS past, present, and future. I hope that you will get a better understanding of what to expect in the event that you need to contact 911 in an event of an emergency for you and your family. In my 15 years of service, I've seen many changes. In 1999, I was trained on a bladed device called a laryngoscope, which aids in inserting breathing tubes into patients. This took days to learn and years to master. Today, I use a video device that takes 5 minutes to learn and master. This is just one of many changes I've experienced in my career. In the next few minutes, I'll discuss 3 topics: the history of emergency transport medical vehicles, evolution of pre-hospital care, and the future of EMS and community health care. So I'm going to start off with just a picture of history. According to James Page, the father of EMS, the first ambulances in civilian world happened in Cincinnati in 1865, and then in New York in 1869. These vehicles offered an American surgeon and a quart of brandy. They said that there was 30 minutes to a response time, so you receive this within 30 minutes, and they were designed specifically for the transport of patients. In 1950s, we saw the change to a modern ambulance in the 50s and 60s. These were mainly an offshoot of other established companies, such as hospitals, fire department, or police, tow operators, and about 50% of these were operated by funeral homes, which is kind of one-stop shopping for a critically ill patient sometimes. I'm going to show you how things have kind of evolved. So here we come into this modern ambulance, which is much different than the picture you just saw, where we see that we have the option of transporting multiple patients. There's cabinetry inside the vehicle, which carries advanced medications and advanced care, stuff for advanced care, and also basic care. There's a suction canister here on the wall. It's designed for suctioning out of vomitus if the patient has vomit in the airway. There is also, even on some ambulances, the option to fog the windows if you had to happen to have somebody peering into the ambulance, so we could actually fog the windows so nobody could see inside. So quite a bit of change in the ambulance world. Also talking about transport, I'd like to mention rotor wing transport, which this is one of the original helicopters. Well, this isn't the original. One of the original helicopter services, Rescue 7, and this happened in about 1969, according to EMS World. The Department of Transportation issued a grant for the operation of 3 helicopters, and these were in Mississippi, and mainly because there was some data to say that patients were doing much better if they received in-flight, not just a flight, but also in-flight medical care, and this was all because of the Vietnam War. This helicopter is in operation today, and this is Rescue 7. So not just to talk about the vehicles that transport patients, I would also like to talk about milestones in how the care has progressed. So here's a 1968 ambulance crew, and over here you see the modern-day flight paramedic. But in World War II, rescue squads pretty much popped up all around the United States. The problem being is that there was standards of care in only about 6 states. I'm going to quote the Ohio Department of Transportation in saying that pre-hospital care evolved into patchwork of well-intended but uncoordinated efforts. So 1960, we see cardiopulmonary resuscitation actually pops up, and that becomes very efficacious. And in Belfast, it's proven to be effective in a pre-hospital arena, so it's kind of made its way over here to the United States. Based on data today from the American Heart Association in February 2011, about 12 million people now receive CPR training. That's lay people and healthcare professionals alike. But still being back in about 1968 here, about half of these crews had any medical training. Half of them had first aid certificates from the American Red Cross, but only about half had any medical training. So 1965, the data comes out that there's more automobile deaths in the United States than in Vietnam. So in 1966, the Department of Transportation set some standards in pre-hospital care. And that's where the EMT programs evolved, the emergency medical technician programs. In 1975, the University of Pittsburgh instituted its first national paramedic class. This was the first paramedic class which allowed advanced measures such as cardiac defibrillation and EKG monitoring. So today, you look over here, and what has changed? We now have the ability to do advanced measures such as insertion of endotracheal tubes, like they're showing here in this picture. We have the ability not only just to acquire EKGs, but also transmit them to specialty care facilities. So it has evolved in many, many ways. So what's for the future? Paramedicine is 40 years in the making, and I think with healthcare reform, there is many opportunities for paramedics, especially in focusing in transitioning a paramedic toward that of more of like a critical care nurse, and to cite a story here to kind of explain what I mean by that. Kurt Rupperman, in the June 2000 issue of GEMS, Journal of Emergency Medical Services, has a story where a patient had fallen and twisted her ankle. EMS crew arrives, they assess her ankle, they assess it as a sprain. They deduce that the patient does not need transport to the emergency department. They make a call to the primary care physician for follow-up care. They also make a call to, they assess the residents and make a call for preventive care for fall measures within the residence. All of this happened right within the home, delivered the health care right to the patient's doorstep. So today, we have covered the history of emergency transport vehicles. Second, we've covered pre-hospital, the evolution of pre-hospital care. And finally, we have discussed the future of emergency medical services. From horse-drawn carriage and brandy to helicopter with advanced providers, you now know that a little bit more about what kind of care you're going to receive when you dial that 911. You should feel comfortable that advanced providers are available, well-equipped, and well-trained to meet any of your needs in the event of your catastrophic emergency.